Okay, so I decided to check out Metal Lords. I think mainly I was looking for a shorter film. And I saw it, I was like, you know what? Fine. I'll give it a look. Right. So it is the new film from Peter Sollett, and it is written by DB Wises. Wises? Wezzes? Wiz? I feel it's part of the Netflix deal that you know himself and the other dude, Ugh, the other dude. Ah, fuck, I forget his name, but yeah, I mean it's part of the deal they signed to go to Netflix. I feel it's one of them films, right? um so yes, it is produced now by uh Wise's Greg Shapiro. Um, it is executive produced by Robin Mulcahy Fischella, Bernadette Caulfield, David Bianoff. Yes, that's that's his working partner, David Bianoff. Right, and he executive produced. It's co-produced by James Moran and Andrea Troyer. Music was handled by Ramin Darwaji. Cinematography was Annette Halmig. The editing was Steve Edwards. Casting was Richard Hicks. Production design is Tyler B. Robinson. Art was Sean Roney. Set decoration, Catherine Ismsms. Costume design, Aaron Aldridge Orr. Um, Makeup and all that jazz. We have Michelle Stananoff, Stephanie June Johnson, Laura Hill, Gary Archer, Claire Amadea, Michelle Storanoff, Anne Celery, Autumn Saunders, Margarita Pigeon, Eva Lush, Terry Lodge, and Sarah Bookers. And our cast. Well, we have got Hunter, played by Adrian Greensmith, Kevin, played by Jaden Martell, Emily, played by Isis Hainsworth. There's Clay, played by Noah Yuri, Dr. Sylvester, played by Brett Gelman, Kendall, played by Annalisa Fisher, Lisa, played by Lisa, played by Michelle Meow, Skip, Phelan Davis, Tim, played by Austin Hunick, Dr. Troy Nix, played by Joe Manganiello. Teddy played Teddy Van E plays Molly Coddle, drummer. Aaron Nagapan plays Molly Coddle's bassist. And Kieran Thomas plays Molly Coddle's keyboardist. So Dean Swanson is played by Sophie Bradshaw. Yeah, I would say that is Dre Slayman, she plays the rehab receptionist. And yeah, that's our kind of core group. Okay. So the gist of the film, that is the only two kids who care about heavy metal in their high school want to form a heavy metal band, but fail to find a bass player. They do, however, find a girl adept at cello. If these three can settle their differences, work together, and stay out of trouble, they could win the upcoming battle of the bands. Hmm. Not really the film, right? Not really the film. It's yeah. I don't know, man. Because Hunter is the real metal fan, and it kind of feels that Kevin is going along with it because he wants a friend, right? And because Hunter is the one going, hey, here's a list. I want you to listen to all of these bands, right? So it's not just Kevin exploring the genre and finding out, oh, I like this, and yeah, these are the people I like. It is, you know, being schooled in it. So yeah, I would say Hunter is the real fan. Kevin is on the journey, as it were. Because we're introduced to into the film, and we see a marching band, and we got Kevin, but then we see him in front of an actual drum kit rather than just playing the drum, right? Um, he can't read music, but that's not a big thing because there's a lot of people, musicians, that don't actually read the music and can get the feel of it. So that's not really a thing. But yeah, it's just these two trying to deal with all the pitfalls of school, right? They're picked on and bullied by other kids. It's one of those situations. But there is this battle of the bands. And I think previous winners have been idolized or gone on to things. So Hunter really wants to enter. But it's funny because at the start of the film, right, Kevin isn't. Ooh, man, I thought I was going to sneeze. Woo! But yeah, at the beginning, Kevin isn't a great drummer, right? And I think one of the big things with this film is time frame, because we don't really get an established time frame. Like, oh, is this all happening over the space of a few months? Is it, a year? Like, what's the frame? Because if it's a year, you could go, okay, yeah, I could see the guy becoming a lot better drummer. Still not going to be the best, but yeah, you're going to, if you're practicing all the time, you're going to go in leaps and bounds, right? But if it's a few months, yeah, he's never going to become a huge, great drummer. Like, that's ridiculous. You know what I mean? Um, and also, I think the time frame would help with other situations, right? Now, the thing here is, it's an okay film, right? It's not, for me, it didn't feel like it was treading any new ground or saying anything profound with the story. You know what I mean? Because yeah, sometimes people, they make films and it's kind of similar to something else, but they're dropping something in that you're like, yo, that's an interesting look at that. Or, oh yeah, no, I like what you're saying here. But it's not really doing that, right? I think it's trying to show friendship and love, but I think it's all very base level because we don't really get what's bringing them together as friends or why Kevin sticks around, you know? It's just like, but he's my best friend, so I got to. Like, that's it. But it's just like, okay, but why? You know what I mean? Like, why? What else is going here? Obviously, we can see that there's stuff going on in Hunter's home life, right? His parents are divorced. He's arguing with his dad. He's trying to be just all of that kind of stuff. But it just doesn't really explore the things that might push them to do what they're doing, you know? And I think that's an interesting one, right? Why do you find solace in metal music? right? Why do you want to rebel against it? Like, just give us that something. Emily, she's got, I don't know if they actually say what it is, but she's got a it's not ADHD, but she's got something. She's on medication to try and deal with it. Now, Kevin's also on medication, right? But that seems a very throwaway piece. Because when he's talking to Emily, he's like, "Oh yeah, no, I'm on medication too," but you don't really know why. You know what I mean? But the Emily thing, it's something that we see her shout at a teacher at the very beginning, and then we see her do something, towards the end, but it's never really addressed. We have her crying at one point, going, "I don't know why I feel like this," but that's as far as you get, right? And I'm thinking, you could have said something about that, right? Because there's probably a load of kids, dealing with certain shit, and you'd be like, "Oh yeah, yeah, that happens to me. Oh, that's why," or boom, boom, boom. Now, I'm not saying it has to be a tutorial, but I think going a little bit deeper on some of these things helps you get closer to the characters, helps you care about the characters. Because I didn't really give a fuck about any of these people. You know what I mean? There was just not enough for me to be like, yo, okay. Right. The whole relationship between Emily and Kevin was odd as fuck. Right. The way it started, because it's just like, I honestly do not believe that's going to be the first question. The first question is dates, right? I don't think they're jumping to the other thing. Yeah, it was a bit like, really? Is that what we're really doing? You know what I mean? It was just, yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. It felt a little odd, but I didn't really feel there was chemistry between any of them, really. You know, it is, look, they dressed people up in a way to fit the roles, but I didn't really feel that people were inhabiting those roles. And it's not saying the acting was bad, but I just don't think there was enough given to them to give us this fully fleshed persona. You know what I mean? That's what it felt like for me anyway. Um, they do reference School of Rock a lot of times, you know, but I think School of Rock had a little more heart, right? There was a little more reason to care about the characters. But yeah, this one, you just like, oh, they want to do this battle of the bands, right? That's a big thing. But yeah, they're not a great band. So it seemed an odd one. And then to be like, oh, and we'll win it. And you'll be like, but you're not a great band. Like, what's happening here? And then the other band, right? Cuddle, they're just doing covers. I kind of feel Battle of the Band is original content, not covered. I might be wrong because obviously I ain't been to a Battle of the Band. I don't know. But yeah, it just seemed an odd one that they were just doing straight covers, you know? It just, yeah, it was weird. So you have other things in the film like bullying and arguments, but every single issue gets resolved real easy. You know what I mean? It's just like, oh, yeah, that shouldn't. Okay, yeah, now we're friends. And you're just like all of these things, and you're like, what? Yeah, I mean, that's is way too easy to get around these things and to, you know, it's just like, yo, this ain't school. Like, what are we doing? That don't happen at school, son. Come on, man. Um, and they're the only metal band, right? So they're doing this thing at Battle of the Bands. The reaction of the crowd, that was like, hmm, that's interesting. That doesn't mesh with anything we've seen in the film. You know what I mean? It was an odd one. And then this whole love triangle thing that they tried to put in there made no sense. Because you like the way the character is presented, you wouldn't believe it. Yeah, I mean, you kind of feel that, okay, no, because you've shown them in a way that we don't buy that that would happen. You know what I mean? And then if it did happen, what happened? Like, it wasn't good. You know what I mean? You can't give yourself a pat on the back for letting it go that long. Because you know what I mean? Shit happened, right? So there's no, yeah, I did the right thing. If you like, no, you still did a little grimy, right? If nothing was forced on you, right? Yeah, that was an odd. There was a few odd scenes here that don't really make any sense. Like the doctor at rehab, again, it was all a bit like, huh? You're not going to push on the questions? You're just going to take someone's word because what was said wasn't necessarily the whole truth. You, you know what I mean? Yeah, it was, I don't know, it was an odd. I feel it's one of those films that little kids will be fine with. You know what I mean? But I think the older you get, the more you're going to question some of the shit that you see. So, yeah, it's all about age range with this film, I feel, you know? But it's on Netflix, so you can dip in, see what you think. So, yeah, there's Metal Lords, people.